What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to a special edition of the Birdcage. This is your boy, Ryan Walker, better known as the Historian. You already know what it is, man. Bringing it to everybody today. You know, the young, the old, you already know. We don't just do Falcon football. We're really a sports anomaly. Excuse my French, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize. But tonight, we have a special treat for everyone tonight. We have coming into the building Dr. Melvin Pender Jr., a legend in his own right, Olympic sprinter, war hero, philanthropist, father, entrepreneur, and he's a native of Atlanta, Georgia, one of the fellow sons of the city. So when we look at it, we're being blessed with history tonight. Won a gold medal in the 1968 Olympics on the 4x100 team. Like I said, served in Vietnam, beautiful spirit, always encouraging, and someone that not only we as sports fans can lean on, but he's an example for a lot of people in this country. I have some guests that are going to be coming in here, helping me out with the interview tonight. My man, Killer K. Killing, and then to get everything squared away. But while we're doing that, I'm going to bring everyone in. I'm going to bring Killian into the building tonight. What's going on, Killer?
What's up, Birdcage? Back in the building, another episode Thursday night. Great to be here. Great to be in the building. Got a great interview coming up. Couldn't wait to get there, get to our fans, get to our listeners, get to the people that love the Birdcage. Good to see the Historian and everybody else that's going to join us later on.
That's that. And we got to bring in our other partner in crime into the interview tonight. We have Coach Brent Gaylor into the building, man. What's going on?
What's going on?
Hey, man, big things tonight. You know, Dr. Pender's going to be here in a little bit. Going to chime in, talk about his career, talk about, you know, growing up in the Atlanta area, talking about his time in the military, and also talking about his time being a world-class athlete. But before we get to Dr. Pender or whatnot, let's go ahead and get to these Falcons right now. What's going on with the boys right now?
Well, what's going on with our boys is we working. You know what I'm saying?
No, I mean, think about it. We still got to get a number 2 wide receiver at this point. We still have a lot of things that's going to be going on when it comes to the Falcons. And honestly, it's just in a whole different stratosphere when we talk about trying to get a number 2 wide receiver. There are options out here, but I would prefer drafting a wide receiver.
No, I understand where you're coming from, Historian, but the big guess word is, or the big elephant is in the room is, what way do Terry and Arthur want to go? Do they want to go draft, or they want to wait a little bit, wait these guys out when their numbers will come down because they want to still be in the league, and the fictional numbers they have in their head, what they think they're worth, comes down, and we snatch one of these guys up. We can also get a guy, like I was saying earlier in the Birdcage episodes, that we could get a guy now in free agency and still draft another guy, still draft your guy out of South Carolina State. So we could double back. We could do a lot of things to bolster this roster here. I just love that. I just love that the environment, and just love that where the place that the organization is in right now. So I feel like going forward that we can make a lot of great moves to improve this team from top to bottom in all 3 phases, and continue to be a great football team going forward.
Well, what do you think? So, Brent, I'm going to ask you this, Coach. So, I mean, what do you think is the mindset right now of not just the front office, but being in a situation to where we have so many different hands in the pot right now. You know, Terry is the lead chef, but we got a lot of hands in the pot, as you can see how we're moving and maneuvering things right now. When you talk about him cooking up this team right now, and you got some fans who are antsy, and then you have some fans who really feel like it's going to be the same old show with the Falcons. What do you think?
I think they have a calculated plan, and he's going to his coordinators right now, and to his offensive line coach, defensive line coach, and saying, what do you need to be successful? Tell me what you need. And he's going out and he's trying to achieve that. So it doesn't have to be flashy. Just has to do the job. So jumping in on what you were saying earlier about the number 2 receiver, I think it's no question. Why would you go out and spend money on a big name free agent right now when, I mean, especially looking at what London did last year? Why wouldn't you take somebody fresh out of college? I mean,
as you can see, our guy Jason Melton has given his stamp of approval, but you left one out, Melton. I'm sorry, buddy. You left out Jadakiss Bonds. I'm sorry. That is a guy who I really believe that can take the top off of a defense, and he could be one of the physical receivers that Arthur Smith likes when you actually talk about these guys being able to run routes, be physical, be tough, take a shot, keep on, and keep on going. So it's a lot of intricacies that Terry's working out. But if you're looking for the prototypical type wide receiver that's going to be in the offense, you got a list of them right there, minus one that wasn't mentioned.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think you go draft. It's just more economically responsible too, and seeing the numbers these guys are putting up in college and the athletic ability they have and the way they're testing, it's a no-brainer. I mean, it really is.
I mean, and here's the thing. When we say it, one of the things I was talking about is something that you can't teach, and we got one of our guests that's going to be coming on tonight who understands this because he made his living as a professional athlete off of it. And, it saved his life when he was over in Vietnam. It's speed. That is something that you can't teach. And honestly, Atlanta has been lacking. I mean, we have OZ. We have Olamide Zaccheaus. I get it. But I'm speaking about consistent speed to where he can hurt you anytime he touches the ball. We need to have that guy that when a defense looks at him, you got that safety looking across the line like, I had a lineup against this guy. Like, really?
Yeah.
It's going to be a long day.
Exactly.
And he's already, in his mind, he's already defeated. Because I can tell you.
Tim White. Somebody like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you truly can say that. You truly can say that. But without further ado, I gotta bring in one of the legends of the 1968 Olympics. He's a great American citizen. He's my brother in military arms. He was there before I was, of course. He's a philanthropist, college graduate, just an incredible, incredible man. And we're going to get into his life, his career, and just explore it with everybody that's on here with us tonight, because, he's a great example for many young people that's out here or whatnot. So let's give it up for Dr. Melvin Pender Jr. Welcome to the Birdcage, Dr. Pender. How you doing,
thank
sir?
you. Thank you very much.
Hey, sir.
Thank you,
sir.
Fine. This is a pleasure to be on the show with him. He's like my son.
He's a fine man.
We'll get into how we actually met. So this is a little different or whatnot. This is what we call, you're actually one of our first professional athletes that we've ever had on here. So you are the first to break it in, and like you've broke down so many barriers in your life, and you've really conquered a lot of odds in your life. This is just something that's special for us to have someone like you of your stature on here. So we are very blessed to have you here. So thank you for joining us.
Anytime.
Yes, sir. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what high school did you go to, and what transcended you getting into the military?
Well, I'm a Grady baby, as they say in Atlanta. I was born in Grady Hospital.
Baby.
You're a Grady baby too, huh?
Well, same here.
I was born in actually in 1937.
37.
Yeah, I'm 58 years old.
I like your math.
You look good for 58, sir. You look
hey,
good.
Thank you very much. I shot 87 today, so I feel good, baby. I feel
Happy
good. Yeah, I shot 87 on the golf course today. But anyway, well, I was born in Atlanta, but my parents lived in Dalton, Georgia. That's where most of my parents are from. My family is from Dalton. Okay. It's called the corporate center of the world now. Back then, it was the, should I say, bedspread center of the world. They made bedspreads and house coats, Chanel house coats, and so on and so forth. But we moved here in 1950 and moved with my grandmother in a little community called Linwood Park, one of the oldest Black communities in Atlanta Metro. I didn't really want to move there because of the school system, because in Dalton, we had a great school. It wasn't integrated, but it was a brick building with heating and indoor toilets and everything. But I moved to Linwood Park. When I first got there, we had to get taxis to go up to Shamley to go in a little brick rock building with like 8 classrooms in it. And it was awful. They wouldn't give us a bus. It was terrible. So the community finally raised enough money to build a school. And the school was a little cement block building with 14 classrooms, 14 rooms in it, with the principal's office and a couple of offices. And the potbelly stove in the corner and pipe right at one of the window panes, and no running water. And the toilet was like 100 meters from the school, and sitting kind of like in the woods, like red clay in the yard, no grass, no basketball, no sports events, and then we got all the hand-me-downs from the white schools. But you know, I grew up without a father. My father and mother divorced when I was 10. My father was in the Navy. He served in the Second World War as a cook on a submarine. All right, that's another one. Yeah.
You know what? I got to stop you real quick. Now, see, Killian, we're going to let him talk about it, but see, that's your fellow Navy sailor right there. Y'all ain't in trouble.
Sounds good. All right.
Hey.
Well, so what you got for us, Dr. Pender? You say he was a Navy sailor.
Yeah, he was a sailor. He was a cook. That's where they put blacks back in the day, as engineers or truck drivers or cooks or whatever. But I joined the Army when I was 17 because what I was seeing in my community, I didn't want to live like that. I didn't want to grow up like that. I wanted more. You know what I mean? I wanted more. I used to caddy, and I used to walk to Capital City Country Club, one of the richest country clubs in Atlanta, and I would see these beautiful homes and beautiful cars and beautiful green grass and the kids playing in the yard. I said, one day I'm going to have this. I'm going to have that. So when I went in the Army, I went to the drugstore. I never forget that. I went to a drugstore and got a magazine and cut out the picture of a beautiful home and a car, and I put it on my wall locker. I said, one day I'm going to have this. So I did. I was married very young, and the only way I could probably take care of my family was going to the military, because I wasn't going to dig ditches like I was doing and driving trucks and shining shoes. I did all kind of stuff to help my family. I got married quite young, and I joined the Army, and I was sent to England, and I served in England with an organization called Skywolf. Construction engineers rebuilt all the all the airfields that was bombed by the Germans during the Second World War. They did it in England, Italy, and also in France and Germany. When I was in England, a place called Stansted. Now that airport is used as a civilian airport right now to fly within Europe. But we been working 15 or 20 hours a day, man. But I was driving 5-ton trucks. I was doing all this kind of stuff. I say, hell, this is not me. This is not what I want to do. So every time I made guard duty, I made supernumerary. So when you make supernumerary, you don't walk. You don't do guard duty. You know what I mean? You get a day off, and you don't have to go back and have to stay out there at night. You go back to you go to sleep. But I was made the construction foreman's driver. I love cars. I love cars. And I kept this truck so clean, man. You couldn't. I catch the raindrops before they hit the truck. It's so clean. I ain't put sandbags in the floor of the truck for floor mats for him. So it got so good. I was so good at that. So I started driving for the company commander, because I didn't want to be driving 5-ton trucks and 20 ditches are like 15 feet deep, putting those big pipes in and all. That wasn't me. Okay. So I spent 18 months there. then I was sent to Texas, another engineer, conducting engineers, where the helicopter school was. That's where they train Army guys to fly helicopters. And I was there for, I guess, a year. And then I went airborne. Okay, that's when I really started enjoying the Army, when I went airborne, 82nd Airborne. So I spent 11 years in the airborne. And but anyway, I can go on and go on and go on and go on and go on because so much in my life that I've done. But I was sent to Okinawa with the 82nd Airborne, 503rd. We were getting ready to go to Vietnam. That was in 1961. And I was playing football with the Army track team. We played Okinawa, we played Japan, we played the Philippines. But I was running fastest guy on the football team. The coach asked me to run as this Japanese that was training for the 64 games. I said, Coach, I don't know anything about running on track. He said, look, go get your supplies. I'll pick you up and I'll take you down to Nago. I get down to Nago, man. The whole island was there. It had to be 10,000 people there from Okinawa. I mean, I said, oh my God, what I got myself into, man. So he said, watch the Japanese, do what the Japanese do, and said, no problem. You're gonna be all right. I said, okay. So I watched the Japanese do their little stuff. And he said, when the gun go off now, make sure when that gun go off now, you take off. He said, you can't sit there. You got to go. I said, all right. So the gun went off. I said, oh shit, I better go now. I caught him about 50 meters down the track, and I won my first track meet. I beat two guys that was training for the 1964 Olympics in Tokyo. That's how I got into track. So then they sent me to Tokyo for 7 days R&R for winning the Pacific Championship in 100 meters and the 200. And I saw all these big structures coming up. They were building the Olympic Games for the games. And I said, I'm coming back here. And plus, I met a real nice Japanese girl, man. I was
Wait a minute now. You don't want to get in trouble now. Be careful now.
It's in my book, because my wife wrote my book. I told her about it.
Okay, hey, I'm making sure you don't. Wait a minute. I'm making sure you don't get me in trouble for that either, because I'm publishing that.
All right. Well, anyway,
I'm just teasing. But how old were you? So now you said you played football or whatnot, and mainly a lot of the basis of our show is geared towards the Atlanta Falcons. However, with you being a football player, that puts you into this. So while I'm actually doing this, I just set up a little something for our background or whatnot. And this is just a little something I'm doing for you, because normally I don't change anything when it comes to the Falcons. So what I put up is a picture of you when you were in your communication station with your phone, with pretty much your intelligence area with your phone or whatnot, with Central Intelligence in that background pic that we have. So I got a picture of you in your prime or whatnot, so folks can see you when you're wearing that Army uniform looking sharp as a tack. So just a little something for you, sir. But how old were you when you actually started competing? Because most guys, as you know, from being a professional track star and athlete, a lot of guys start when they're young, 7, 8, 9 years old, just running in the neighborhood. And when they get older, they start just going into organized track. How old were you when you started to compete?
I ran my first track meet when I was 25 years old in Okinawa.
Wow.
And
that's impressive.
Yeah. And after I did that, I had schools like UCLA, Southern Cal, Fresno State, San Jose State. All these schools wanted me to get out because I was getting out of the Army. My time was up. Wanted me to go to college, but I didn't think I was smart enough to go to college, man. I mean, I never had no college, ambitions. Like, I wanted to go to college, but to go to college, I didn't think I was smart enough. Really, I'm telling you honestly. I just felt like I wasn't smart enough. So I got out of the Army. I went to Clark College. I was given a scholarship at Clark College to run track. But I had a wife and a baby, and I said, how am I going to work and get a job and take care of my family? I said, hey, I can't do that. So I re-enlisted, and I was sent to 101st Airborne Division, Fort Campbell. I was there for 8 months, and they sent me to Korea, Wijeonbu in Korea. In Korea, all I did was play football because they had looked at my records. And, sports are big overseas, man. And they saw I played football and ran track. So they sent a helicopter to pick me up and took me to Wijeonbu, I-Corps. So all I did was run the service club, the swimming pool, and the pool hall. I mean,
so you just had so look, now me and my guy Killian, we're fellow vets or whatnot. Coach is a fellow collegiate athlete or whatnot as well. And I played some of my pro ball. But I'm looking at it like this. Going back to my military days, ladies and gentlemen, he had easy duty. Yes, he didn't have hard duty when he did that.
Yes, I did.
And a lot of, here's the thing. So he got hooked up with a lot of great duty. And I guarantee you, I know he took care of his fellow soldiers, but I know one person, I know two divisions that you really took care of. You took care of those cooks and you took care of those personnel that handled your pay.
Well, you know that.
That's a rule in the military. We got to take care of our cooks and people that handle our money. Now, see, I was in intelligence, so didn't nobody bother me.
Yeah.
So you understand that side of the house too.
That side, yeah. But the one thing, but in Korea though, they have great sports over there. They had back when I was there, and but I played football, and one day I was after practice, one of my buddies that worked in personnel had got this message from Washington sports branch looking for young people to train for the Olympics, track people to train for the Olympics, and that's what's called Army track team. I said, put my name down there, man. So they gave me 2 hours a day to train. After I got back to 82nd Airborne to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, they gave me 2 hours of train, and that wasn't easy because they didn't like no athletes. My sergeant that was in charge of me was an asshole. You know, he didn't like me, boy. I went to work I was an S4. When I got there, I was a staff sergeant then, and then I come to work in the morning. They had put me as a supply sergeant in an artillery unit. I said, "What the hell is this?" I didn't know anything about it. But I called Washington, so they put me in special services. That wasn't great either because the guy in special services didn't like me either because I was an athlete. But make a long story short, I said, okay, enough of this shit. So I said, I'm going to OCS. I took the test, passed it, went to Officer Candidate School down in Fort Benning, Georgia. But I made the Olympic team in 1964 when I was in special service at 82nd Airborne. But I didn't win a medal. I got hurt. You saw that picture where I pulled a muscle in my rib casing. And I came back, and man, this guy didn't even say, congratulations for making the Olympic team. Didn't say, wait. All he did was ask me where I'd been. Because I had gone home after the Olympics for a week and came back. And when I got back, all he was saying, where you been? And now he don't want to mess with me because the guy don't know me. I'm a black belt karate. You know what I mean? I learned that when I was in Korea. I'm good. And when I came back, I got my black belt. And I said, he won't mess with me. Okay. So I didn't pay no attention. I went, took the test, passed it, went to OCS Fort Benning, Georgia. Got commissioned as second lieutenant and went to Vietnam, 9th Division, Mekong Delta. Cool. I was there 5 months and they pulled me out to train for the 1968 games. I came back, made the 1968 Olympic team at age 31.
Tell them,
wow.
Hold on. Wow. Let's make sure we clear this up for the viewers. So he's telling this story, but he actually talks about it in his book, in his autobiography, which we are going to talk about later on after the interview. He actually mentions the fact that he actually, like I said, he was knee deep in the war, just like everybody else, just like every other soldier. And he ended up coming back and doing his thing, pretty much leaving the war battlefield and going to train for the Olympics. You got to be a bad man to get pulled like that in the middle of a mission to train. So, my hat's off to you because I understand, my situation I got pulled for was a little different. I got pulled for a legal situation because I had to go to court for something, but that was nothing on me. I was, I had to testify to something, but that was the first time I had ever known anybody to ever get pulled off of a mission or whatnot. Because, I was like, man, this happens. They're like, yeah, this happens all the time. And they send you right back, which I found out.
They sent me right first. Let me go back because I was stationed training for the Olympics at Fort MacArthur, California, right across from Long Beach, California. And that's where the Army track team trained. And I applied. I took the test to go to OCS. I'm sorry. Let me back up. Go to flight school to fly helicopters. I wanted to be a helicopter pilot. And I wanted to go back to Vietnam to fly helicopters. My buddy was over there flying. I said, I'm going back over there and fly with my buddy. So I passed all the tests. Wasn't easy. And I said, I was supposed to go in September, but I made the Olympic team, 68 team. And the Olympics game was in October. So they said, okay, you can go in February. So I said, okay. When I got over Mexico City, that's when all the stuff happened with the Black Power. They call it the Black Power, but it's not. It wasn't called the Black Power salute, And people put it up and said, "Oh, it's a Black Power salute." It wasn't that. It's called a silent gesture. That was what they call the silent gesture. It wasn't the Black Power salute. So when all that happened, I got called in by the colonel and telling me, "Hey, Mel, you can't get involved in this, and you can't because you're in the Army." I said, "I know that." I said, "But I've been in the Army too long to go out and to run my career. I'm not going to do that." But he asked me, "Well, I understand you're supposed to be going to flight school." Now, how in the hell he knew I was supposed to go to flight school, right? This is a colonel from Washington. So I get back to Fort MacArthur. They had me on orders to go straight back to Vietnam within a week. Somebody, I don't know how they got me mixed up in that. They might have thought I had something to do with that Black Power thing, but I was in the meetings with everybody, because I'm Black. I'm going to be there. I was treated just like they were treated, back in the South and doing the day, and still doing it today. It ain't stopped yet. So I said, yeah, I was involved, but I wasn't, I was trying to keep those kids. I was one of the oldest guys on the team, me and Rap Austin. And I said, oh, I said, no. I said, that's not true. I said, I was trying to make these kids stay organized, and I don't want to do anything stupid, So when I got to Fort MacArthur, man, and I called Washington, I said, what the hell? How can I be on two sets of orders, to go to Vietnam and go to helicopter school? So they said, we don't know anything about that. So and so, so and so. So I tried to get out. I tried to resign my commission. And if you can't resign your commission, I said, okay. So what happened? Washington Sports Branch got involved in it again. So they sent me back to the 82nd Airborne Division as a company commander. They said I need command time. So I went there for 6 months. 6 months later, I was back in Vietnam with the 82nd Airborne Division, company commander. Stayed there 9 months and got pulled out again to train for the 1972 games. Now you tell me, was that you think that was right to do me that way? And I've been one of the best in the world in what I did. No. I'm making a name for the Army too.
Honestly, I don't think it was right that you had to go through that. And we see a lot of this, as we said, that goes on. And I'll be honest with you, I'm first off, I love my service that gave me an opportunity. I love the service that gave me an opportunity, because everybody else turned me down from my old football injuries. So the Coast Guard gave me a second life. But at the same time, when you talk about how things in politics are done behind closed doors, you experience exactly a lot of what you experience, whether if you're a rising star in the service or you're somebody that has a lot of contacts. It's a lot of jealous people and a lot of envious people who just do nasty things, and they don't realize, like, you hurt the credibility of the military when you try to tarnish people that are trying to uplift your branch of service. And you and I have had conversations off the record or whatnot about some things that transpired or whatnot. But at the same time, we also know that you make the most of your opportunities when you get them. And for you to go through what you went through in your life, your military career, I salute you, because most people don't have the mental fortitude or the matriculation mentally to get to a point in life where it's like, you know what? I got to deal with this anyway. So guess what? I'm just going to go ahead and do my job anyway. A lot of people quit. And your motto that you go by, I'd like for you to say this, because I want you to present your motto for us that you've lived by and you've motivated so many people by because of the struggles that you've gone through.
Well, I learned a lot from my grandfather. My grandfather taught me, wouldn't for my grandfather day, I wouldn't be sitting in this chair right here. When I was like 14 years old, and some buddies of mine, we was out putting under the garage with a little crazy club we had made to play golf with, the putt. We didn't have a paved garage. It was dirt under the garage. So we dug a hole and we would put in that hole. So one day he was singing his songs on the porch, and he came up outside and said, listen. My buddy says, your grandfather crazy? He said, come here. Oh, you come in here, boys. So he started talking about life. He only had a third grade education. He learned how to read by reading his Bible. He's a deacon in the church. My mother was a sister in the church. But he would sit down and he would say, the word hate should never be in your vocabulary. He says, never hate. He said, you love everybody because God put us all here the same. He said, you have to go to school and get an education. You better learn. He said, learn your arithmetic. That's math. Back in the day, they would say arithmetic. He would say, you got to learn how to read. He would say, read. He would say, that's the way he talked. He said, and listen. That's the way he would talk. Now, when I go to schools and speak to young kids, I do the same thing. They, how kids, little kids in say in the first, second, third grade, they don't be paying attention sometimes, be, fidgeting around. And I take the microphone, I go, listen. They'll jump up out their seats. And the teacher said they go around a whole week saying, listen in the hallway, listen. She said, but I got the point across. So my grandfather got the point across to me. He said, love everybody. You hate nobody. He said, you can dislike some people, And you don't have, if you don't dislike them, don't have anything to do with them. You see, you don't hate anybody, no matter what color you are, what religion you are. Because we all human beings, God put us here all to bleed one color, and that's red. That was my grandfather telling me this. He said, you don't back down to nobody. He said, you are your own man. Always remember that. You are your own man. You know what color you are, son. You have to you don't stand down to nobody. You speak up. As John Lewis said, speak up, speak out. I've been that way all my life. I'm that way today. I don't care about the Republicans and the Democrats. I don't care about that stuff. Okay. Because, you know, what's been happening in the last years of our last president, it tore me apart because I'm a veteran. And that wall on a few blocks away from that place where they attacked that Capitol was that long black wall with 500,000 young men that I fought with in Vietnam to keep those asses safe. Those people that call themselves patriots that went to the Capitol and did that. That hurts me. I mean, I got post-traumatic stress, and that really stressed me out when they did that, man. You just don't know. Because I saw people die in Vietnam. Young boys, 18 to 21 years old. You don't know how much that affects you, man. It stays with you for the rest of your life. And that happened. When that happened, I didn't mean to bring that up, guys, but I just in this conversation. But the thing that my grandfather taught me is to love, not hate. My wife is Caucasian, okay? I don't look at her as being Caucasian. I look at it as being a woman. My wife's a minister. God put her here to be a human being, not because of her color. You understand where I'm coming from? We have to learn how to love each other, man. And every day I'm out helping young people. If I'm not I'm also a cop, Cobb County sheriff in Cobb County. I work with Cobb County Police Department. I work with kids. If I'm not working with kids, I'm somewhere on the phone talking to kids, trying to help kids live a positive life, man. That's all I care about today. In my last years I got left, my goal is to help young people be successful, have successful lives. That's just me. That's all I can give them, because I knew where I came from. It was tough. It was tough back then, man. Back of the bus, black and white water fountains. People don't even know how that feels if you not have to experience it. You've never experienced that. Sitting on the back of the bus, you can't sit on the front. You got to go to the back because of the color of your skin. I mean, I can tell you stories, man. All night you will sit here and, yeah, I see you shaking it. You would shake your head. I can tell you some other stories of my life. But I don't want to get all into that, guys. I'm sorry, but
no. Listen,
no, you're
this
fine.
is an interview that is for first off in the Birdcage. I'm letting you know this here. This is one of the realest platforms that you can express yourself and you can talk about things. And this is what we do. We do this about the Falcons all day, and the Falcons aren't paying us a dime. Let's be honest. We do it because we love it. But at the end of the day, when we have knowledge, experience, and we have someone that has lived life and that has, lived not just as an athlete, lived as a veteran, lived as a mentor, an entrepreneur, you might drop some jewels for someone, because we get people to watch our show, and it's a little off the wall tonight because, we did our football talk last night, but this night is pretty much geared towards you and your knowledge that you bring to the table, because whether you know it or not, you could be dropping some knowledge, not just helping a young person, you could be helping somebody go through some things. We have individuals who watch our show that have gone through some traumatic situations. I speak out on it. I suffer from PTSD from my time in the service. Some things that I saw that you and I have talked about and had to do out there on the water, unfortunately. But I'll tell you the honest to God truth. You speaking up is a beautiful thing, because we need more people to have the fortitude to speak up. We don't have anybody out here that has that. Now, me, they'll tell you I speak my mind and I keep it respectful, but they know I'm gonna get my point across, whether it's football or handling a situation. So we thank you for being honest. That's all we ask our guests to do: honest and respectful. And you do that anyway. You motivated me while I was in the service, and I told you I was going to school. You were like, you need to hurry up and get your degree. No, you got this here. You got a family? No, I don't have one. Okay, well, it shouldn't stop you from getting it. So I graduate in June. So your mission will be accomplished in June. So you don't have to beat me down about it. It's gonna be It's gonna be the masters and the PhD that he beats me down with, Killian, because he wants me to go a little bit further with.
That's right. That's right. My wife graduated from Kennesaw State on the 17th of May with her master's degree.
Congrats.
I'm 20 years older than my wife, though, but she won't stop there. She'll get her doctorate. She'll go just like I do. She'll get her doctor's degree too. But well, let me go back and where I was at. I got pulled out of Vietnam again. After 9 months, I got pulled out of Vietnam again. Before I left Vietnam, I got the Bronze Star. I already got the combat infantry badge, and I got the service medals that I received while I was there. I was working for Ambassador Kobe, who became the CIA director, and once he came back from Vietnam. But I went back. I got assigned to West Point Military Academy. I was the first black coach, should I say minority coach at West Point. One of the best assignments you could get in the military. I didn't have a college degree. I was a captain, but I was going to school. Everywhere I was stationed, I had gone to school and working on finishing my degree. I went to like 7 different colleges, and I ended up getting my degree from Adelphi University in Long Island, New York. But what happened when I got there, the head coach passed away, and they made me the interim coach. And when they make the interim coach, they always had to put the job out there for other people to bid on the job. But I got called in. Now, my captain of my track team and a major got called in to breakfast at the commandant's office one night, at home one night, and said West Point was not ready for a head black coach. You hear what I just said? Wasn't ready for.
That's why I'm shaking my head. Like
and I had the best season. He had been there 25 years, and after he passed away, the 2 seasons that I was coaching, after he passed away, I retired. But before I had the best season he had for 25 years. I lost 1 track meet.
Wow.
So after that, they didn't want to give me the job. They hired this guy over me, but it got really wild at West Point. The Secretary of the Army got involved in it. SCLC, NAWCP got involved in it. I got called into the commandant's office one morning at 7 o'clock. The Secretary of the Army chewed his ass out. He said, I have Mel Pender's records right here in front of me. This man has been nothing but a superstar. He said, he was one of the best officers I have seen since I've been Secretary of the Army. I've been in the military. He said, he has nothing but 90 and 100 officers ratings. He said, how can you not give this man the job? And what I've heard, he has the best season they ever had at West Point when he was coaching. How could you do that to him? So Commandant sit there with his, he was a redneck, sitting there with his mouth open. I'm gonna call it like it is. He was a damn redneck. Okay. So that's what he was. And because my boss that I had called me in one day and said, Mel, I understand you dating a woman that's not black. Now I'm telling you this. It's in my book. I'm telling you like it is. I speak my mind, right?
Yes,
but the woman is not, she wasn't black. She was part Indian and black. Okay. She was very pretty. And I said, why are you calling me in here for this? He said, well, my wife is an Anglo-Saxon American, and she dated in Chicano and University of New Mexico. And she's livid about her dating this. I said, why are you telling me this? I said, I don't care about your daughter, who your daughter date. And I said, what I do with my life is none of your damn business, Colonel. So he gave me the worst OER that I've gotten. I got all while I was in office. He gave me an 85 out of 100.
Wow. And so, most people fight to get an 85.
I know, but he gave me 85. But mine was 90, between 95 and 100. All the ones I've got as an officer, second lieutenant, up to when I retired as a captain. So I retired. I went to school. In fact, your Secretary of the Army told the commandant to let me stay in my quarters until September. I retired in June because I couldn't graduate to September. So I had like 3 months to go before I could retire. Before I could get my degree. So I stayed there until September. I got my degree. I graduated with honors, and left West Point. And I left West Point. I'm not going to tell you what I said. They gave me a little dinner, a little reception, and I ain't going to tell you what I said because
I can only imagine.
It was very diplomatic. It was very intelligent, but I let him know how I felt about him and how him being in the Army, and he had those kind of feelings when you got all nationalities fighting for this country. How can a general be that way against me? Well, can you imagine how he was against other nationalities? It wasn't his color or his nationality. I'm telling you. I mean, that hurt me so bad. You don't know how much that hurt me. I already had post-traumatic stress, but that really hurt me. But I got in the Army and I did well. I had 5 professional contracts offered me to play pro ball with the Falcons, New Orleans Saints. The first one was Montreal Alouettes. New York Jets, and also New Orleans. I said New England, and Philadelphia Eagles. I could have played. I could have played for either one of those teams, but I didn't want to play with those teams because they weren't paying for $17,000. I'm not going to play no football for $17,000.
Now, Dr. Pender, now as Falcon fans and this loyal page right here, not to cut you off, we hate the New Orleans Saints. So
I know that.
I'm gonna tell you right now, if you probably would have been a New Orleans baghead, that's what we call Saints fans. We call them bagheads.
Yeah, I know.
If you would have been a part of that coach, we still would have showed you love because you showing us love coming on the show. But just know it would have been some salty feelings from some of our viewers on this on the show that we have. I'd be getting comments all night. And Coach Brandt, what question do you might have for Dr. Pender this evening? What do you have for him? Because we got some other questions, but I wanted my guys to kind of ask you questions. I don't want to hog up the spotlight with that tonight.
Well, Doctor, what out of all your sports that you played, what was the biggest moment for you that stuck out, whether it be your teammates, an individual accomplishment, a team accomplishment? Just what's the one thing that you still carry with you day in and day out that sticks with you?
The 1968 Olympics, because I got hurt in '64. I played 600 meters. My buddy punched me in my rib casing. He called me having internal bleeding. So I ending up being 600 meters behind Bob Hayes. I should have been in the top three.
The bullet.
Bob. I should have been in the top three, but I won my gold medal when I promised my mom that I was going to win a gold medal for her because I took her to Mexico with me. Mom never flew an airplane in her life. I took my mother to see me run in Mexico, and my goal was to win a gold medal for her. And I won that gold medal in the relay. And also when setting world records that I have, which I have that never be broken because they don't run yards anymore, 56 and a 70-yard dash. That's something I got. That's mine. They are my records because nobody can hold up. And I did them at a late age in my 30s. No one ever done that. I set the world record in 6-yard dash at 5.8 seconds, and I was 34 years old. No one ever done that.
First off, this is what we need to get you to do for us, Dr. Pender. First off, I need you to get in Arthur Blank's face because now, look, we got Terry Fontenot. I like Arthur Smith. We got to get us a black head coach, finally. We got to get one in the door. We had a chance to get Mike Singletary, and they passed on him. They passed on Levy Smith and a few others. We got to get that in there. We got to get a little bit more diversity within the leadership positions. We got Terry Fontenot, which is a beautiful thing. First black GM in Falcons history, and it took half of 100 years to get there, but we're there, and we need you to probably help some of these guys out. Maybe you can teach our boy Drake London how to run, get his speed up. You're an Olympic champion. You have records as you just broke down, and you understand speed. We might need you to help us out in the speed department. Seriously.
Well, you know what? That's what I wanted to do when I got in the Army is work with football teams to help the running backs with their speed. But no one asked me to do it. I work with the Atlanta Falcons. I used to work for the Atlanta Hawks, and I used to work with them in the summertime, working on their speed and working on their conditioning. And it turned out very well, man. Every year they'll be begging me to help them put them on the track, and I run the hell out of them, man. And they come back and they say, man, you got to do this again next year. But I never no one never asked me to do that. I can't understand why. But me being the fastest guy in the world from the starting blocks, knowing how to do that, it takes a lot of practice, and you don't just come out of the blocks and be fast as I was. Mm-hmm. But it would have been great to have done that and to coach. But I had some great jobs, man. I worked for the National Home Builders Association, working with Job Corps, working with kids. Here we go again, helping kids be productive in their lives. I know a lot of kids now got PhDs, got their own jobs in the construction field. I run a camp for the National Football League Players Association where kids got their master's degrees now. I see some of them now managers at different restaurants and got their own construction business. But that makes me feel good that I've done something to help a kid. I mean, when I see them and they call me or come up to me and thank me for what I've done for them, it's amazing, man. That's a feeling that, it's hard to explain. I've helped so many kids, not bragging, but but I've helped so many kids to be productive in their lives. And that's all I dream for the rest of my life. That's what I do now with the Cobb County Sheriff's Department. But make a long story short, I got out of the Army. I opened a store called Athletic Attic, sporting goods store, athletic shoe store in South DeKalb Mall in Atlanta for 3 years. At the same time, I was working for the National Football League, speaking all around the country. And when I got hired for the National Homeowners Association, that was it was training for kids in Job Corps, manpower training. I was regional director for Region 4. And I did that for like 10 years, and I got hired with the Atlanta Hawks. I worked for Atlanta Hawks for 6 years. I went out on disability because I got hurt in Vietnam. I had 3 operations, cancer and leukemia. I've had 9 operations, have an operation on the 3rd, another one, and another one in May from Vietnam. As you get older, your body starts falling apart. But I'm still hitting the golf ball, thank God. But I went after Atlanta Hawks, and I started doing consulting work. I put on one of the biggest track meets in Atlanta for the Olympic Games. It was in Atlanta and DeKalb County. I had kids come from all over the country, man. They came from Jamaica. They came from Puerto Rico. They came from California, New York, New Jersey. These kids came from everywhere. I had over 2,000 athletes on this track meet I put on in Atlanta as a consultant to the DeKalb County Convention and Visitors Bureau. And now I'm a motivation speaker. I can go. I have so much I can talk about, but this is probably going to take more of your time to get the book. You get the book and read the book.
No, we're see what I've already done. I've actually promoted it. So if you can see at the bottom of the screen below us, the name of Dr. Pender's autobiography is called Expression of Hope, the Mel Pender Story. It's $18.95 on Amazon.com. It's less than a tank of gas, ladies and gentlemen. It is something that will motivate you, whether you're going through any type of period in your life. His autobiography covers coming out of 3 marriages. You found the fourth time, love of your life, and just learning how to deal with disappointment, getting injured in the Olympics, coming back and winning a gold medal, getting through your military career. You are what we call resilient. The sad thing is we need these Falcons to get the same way. We need these boys to be a little bit more resilient. And honestly, you talk about helping kids. Now, I'm a big kid, Uncle Mel. I call him Uncle Mel, by the way. It's a story behind that, but I'm a big kid. But you know what? If you got anybody that you might know, that still works in the Falcons organization, or you know anybody that's side, look, when I graduate school, I'm looking for a job to become a scout for the Falcons, if I can get a job for that, because I love scouting talent. And I'll tell you right now, I'll bring a championship to Atlanta if I ever got the opportunity to. I would build a roster. I would be a hell of a scout, and my guys here can tell you that.
Well, you need to write a letter to the owner and tell him what you just said to me. Because I would have hired you on the spot for just saying what you just said.
Get him in front of Arthur Blank's faces right there, man. Put it out there on.
You know what? I gotta find. They say Arthur Blank jogs around the city, sometimes. So I might have to get us some running. I might have to put on my business suit. I know my feet are gonna hurt, but I'm gonna have to put on some wingtip shoes, and I'm just gonna have to jog with him and just talk to him and have my resume on my phone on hand so he can check it out while he's running. So
you don't even need the wingtips.
No.
Oh no, I got to dress for success at all times.
Nah, he'll know.
Well, no, but seriously though, getting back to you, Dr. Penders, the other question I have for you is this, sir. It's just so much that we can go over, but so with Bob Hayes, now my grandmother, back in the day before, her dementia and everything kicked in, she told me a little bit about it. She's from my mom's side of the family is from Jacksonville, Florida. And my grandmother went to Old Stanton back in the day, which was rivals with Matthew W. Gilbert, which is a middle school now, which was Bob Hayes' old high school.
Right.
Now, the funny story I got, Bob Hayes tried to hit on my grandmother while she was dating my grandfather.
That's Bob.
And my grandfather, God bless his soul, police officer, good man, he told her, he said, hey, man, she, that's my girl. Leave her alone. Bob didn't understand it. He was like, nah, I ain't got to leave her alone. And he said, I'm going to let you know now. Leave her alone. Now, my grandfather grew up with firearms. So, Bob, I guess, wanted to try to show how tough he was at the time. And I said, wow, how can you, she told me the story. She was like, yeah, say your grandfather let out, your grandfather scared him, chased him down with the car. There's a little bit more to the story, but I can't put that out there on the show. I have to tell you off the record. But in other words, he pretty much tested Bob Hayes' speed and why they called him the Bullet.
Okay.
And hands down, one of the fastest men in the world. What was it like having him as a teammate? And what was he like off of the track and as off the record, when he wasn't competing? What was he like back in the day?
Man, Bob was the nicest person you ever want to meet. I was in the Army with his brother. His brother was also an 82nd Airborne, but his brother was nothing like Bob. Bob was a nice, general person, like a little teddy bear. That was Bob Hayes. And he used to call me Shorty. When I got hurt, I remember we was on the warm-up track. He said, Shorty, come here. I said, what you want, man? I said, what you want, man? He says, look, just watch my butt. I said, what? Watch your butt. What do you mean? Because I'm going to be in front of you. Just watch my butt. Maybe you can keep up with it. He said, he said, oh, man, I laughed so hard at Bob. But, man, I tried my best. If I had not been hurt, I'd have been right up there in the top 3. I'm not going to say, I never beat Bob Hayes. Never beat Bob Hayes in my life. But I broke all his records. All records I've broken was Bob Hayes records. But I never beat anybody. Tell me they beat Bob Hayes, they got to show me.
So let me ask you this: would it be safe to say he's the fastest person that you ever competed against?
Yes.
Or you saw? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Back in the day, Bob Hayes was the fastest guy in the world.
Wow.
Bob, when he played football, they changed defense in football because of Bob.
Defense.
That's right.
And I mentioned that on one of the shows or whatnot. I told everybody that on the show. And they laughed at me like, what do you mean? They're like, man, you're like an encyclopedia. I said, no. Anybody that lived during that time, like Dr. Penders, he'll tell you, like he just said, the zone defense was created by Bob Hayes because of his world-class speed. That's right. Unfortunately, the Falcons can't get that right at all. And they play. That's why I said we need you. We need you to coach our guys up honestly and work them out and get their speed up. We need more speed on the squad. And I think you would be the man. I think you would be the man to get them to that point to where you can help the skill guys get to a place of just pure euphoria when we actually see them run.
Yeah, someone just put on my computer here. Bob Hayes track meet this weekend in Jacksonville. They have a track meet in his name
at Rains High School.
High School. Yeah. So I know his coach very well. When I used to work for Job Corps, I had a Job Corps center in Jacksonville, maybe 2 miles from the school. I used to go to the school at Rains High School and spend time with his coach over there. But when I was to go, I was at Bob Hayes. I spoke at Bob Hayes' funeral too. By the way, we were good friends.
So, Doctor, can you say that that Bob Hayes was your closest teammate, like far as going back through all the different sports that you played and track buddies? Or was it some other guys that you ran track with that were great friends of yours also?
But Bob Hayes was one of my best friends. I mean,
okay.
I wasn't around him that much when I was with Bob. Bob and I was like two brothers, two peas in a pot. My closest friend was Charlie Green. He ran the first leg on the relay. He got third in the 100 meters, which I should have been up there with them, but he got third, and he passed away about 8 months ago. Charlie Green went to University of Nebraska.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, we lost quite a few 1968 people. What I'm doing now, I'll mention it to you. Now I'm trying to put together, my mission is to put together a reunion of the 60, 64, 68, and 72 Olympians. They're all 70s and 80s year olds right now. You see, we just lost Fosbury. Fosbury just passed away, which would have been nice to have him there too, because I mentioned it to him. He was all out to help me pull this thing off in LA in October of this year. But I'm trying to bring as many of us together, maybe for some of us for our last time, because I'm 85 and some of the guys, around my age, not as old as me, but someone close to my age. But I'm trying to pull these people together, man, because, we're family and no one else is doing it. And so I'm trying to, in fact, I'm leaving tomorrow to go up to Indianapolis, Indiana, to do a speaking engagement to the largest children museum in America. And I will be speaking to the president, Max Seagram, about making this happen, to try to pull us together. And Fosbury would have been there if he had not passed away. But there's so many of us. You got Bob Beamon, you got Charlie, you got John Carlos, you got Tommy Smith, you got all these great athletes. You never hear anything about them. Once we finished running, United States Olympic Committee, they don't care about us. Once we ran in the Olympics games and they got all the hoorah and all the stuff, we forgotten.
Yeah.
Not in other countries, not like that though. Only in America.
They parade them.
What happened?
No, I'm still here. We're still here. We didn't hear. I thought he was getting ready to ask you a question. I had one for you. Now,
go ahead.
You're now as an Olympian. You guys stay in Olympic Village around all of the American Olympians, correct?
Yes.
What was it like being around a young George Foreman at that time when he was fresh out of Job Corps, out of Houston, Texas? We're not talking about the happy fat man that's selling grills now. We're talking about the young, surly guy who used to train with Sonny Liston back in the day and he was a bit, how would you say it? Some days he was nice, some days he wasn't. What was it like being around a young George Foreman at that time in Olympic Village?
I didn't know him that well when I was in doing the Olympic Games, but I was around him. We talked, but I didn't really know him that well. But he was a nice guy. I'm telling you, but he's just a great guy. I can just say he was a great guy. And like I said, I didn't know him that well, but I know him. He knows me, who I am, but I didn't know him that well. But what happened in the Olympics game? He got a little flack by walking around that ring with that flag in his hand after what happened with John Carlos and Tommy Smith. And he the only one that went to the 1968 team didn't go to Washington.
So wait a minute. So he was the only one who actually did go to Washington, because I remember in his story he talked about when he got home, he could, like you said, he caught flack because he's from. So George Foreman is from if anybody's ever been to Houston, about the Fifth Ward. The nickname was the Bloody Fifth. So he survived a very rough area growing up. So he went and he said, and he told the story. He said, I was just proud that I had an opportunity to get 3 meals a day, because I didn't eat every day when he said he was home. And, he said it gave him a second opportunity. But like you said, when that situation happened, it kind of turned him into a different man once he got back.
Yeah. I think, you can't blame him. I don't blame him for what he did, because everybody can't make an Olympic team. Everybody don't make an Olympic team. You got to be the best in the world, in your country, to make an Olympic team. You don't get out there and sit in a chair and go get in the starting blocks or do a high jump or play basketball or football, soccer, just by walking out there doing it. You got to train. And training is not easy. You know that. You're an athlete. In order to be good at what you in a sport or anything, you got to train for it. And training is not easy, man. I train 3 times a day because I'm older than most of the guys I ran against. I mean, from 6 to 10 years older than the guys I ran against. And I was beating their butts. Boy, I had to put the work in. Man.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have any qualms about what he did. There's other people that didn't stand up for what John Carlos and Tommy Smith stood for. But you can't blame them. I mean, they're human beings, man. I mean, I know I would have, because I was older and I've been through more than those kids ever gone through living in the South.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had not been in the military, I'd have been on that victory stand with them. I tell you, it's in my book. I would have been there, because it's justice. We are Americans. It doesn't matter what color you are, what religion you are. We are Americans, and we fight for each other. Mm-hmm. And being in war and combat, No matter where you black, blue, green, or yellow, that bullet don't give a shit. That bullet is coming to kill you.
Yeah.
And a lot of young men died because they love their country. I love my country. That's why I went twice. I had no choice, but that was my career. And my life was dedicated to the military and my family and the people in the United States of America. No matter where I was treated in America, we couldn't vote in 1965. The voters' right didn't pass in 1965. You know that. Okay? But I'm fighting for it's still my country. This is my country. So why can't people wake up and understand that hating people because the color of their skin and their religion, because they don't look like them? Why can't people understand that God made us all the same? And we have a war tomorrow. Who's going to fight and defend this country? It's going to be every nationality, every religion out there fighting to keep this country safe and free. Why can't people see that? Why can't we have dictators like we had before going to dictate and change the way of life of America? Actually try to change the way we live. You don't do that. And things that, I don't want to get on politics. I don't want to get into that. But I'm just saying what happened.
We're not letting you get on politics like that. But you're speaking from a standpoint that me and Killian understand, because, like I said, I was in the Coast Guard. I'll tell you right now, in the Coast Guard, it's only 5.7% African Americans. And when you talk about that, at one point it was a lot more, but because of the demographics and they don't really advertise that service to this branch of service to everybody else. You don't have the influctuation of African Americans in there like that. So I got the experience a lot of covert events, just keeping it politically correct, and I got to experience a few things that not to the level of what you experienced, but I got a small taste of it, and I can tell you right now, it's not easy to take that, but transitioning to us talking about this military thing, let's slide it over to what happened with Colin Kaepernick. He pretty much did exactly what your fellow, Tommy Smith and John Carlos, your fellow Olympic teammates did back when he took his stand against the police brutality that was going on. The same thing that those two guys, those two pioneers, I'm not saying guys, let me rephrase that. Those two pioneers stood for. He did the same thing. And a lot of people gave him flack for it. But it's like, look, it's a serious problem when you talk about a lot of things that go on in professional sports, because a lot of the same issues we deal with in society transition over into the professional sports world. Because as you know, Dr. Pender, you actually work with the NFL. So it's a private billionaire company. So they have their own rules, they have their own laws and everything else outside of the laws that the United States and the state and the regulations that are around. Just like the military, we live by two different laws. So do NFL football players. So when you look at how he was treated, just like your teammates were treated, the difference was he got a paycheck from Nike, a large paycheck. Your teammates got opportunities to try in the NFL, and they never really got the opportunities, and they were blackballed in a lot of situations because of that stand that they took. Why do you think that these owners now are trying to keep up the same practices that were done when you were a professional athlete? Why do you think that that's going on?
Greed. It's all about money. They don't care about those players, man. All they care is about the money they can make.
Yeah, that's the bottom line.
You think they care about those guys out there getting killed every day, getting knocked around, and once they finish playing, they didn't want to take care of these guys once they finish playing. They fight every day to keep these guys from getting disability that's gotten hurt playing football. They don't care. All they care is about the money, man. It's greed in this country. If you don't have money in this country, you nobody. You've seen that. You've seen that in the you saw that in an election and 6 years ago. You saw that back then when all this money was given to the rich and poor wasn't getting nothing. I mean, the tax, exemption is, I don't want to get into that again, but it's just that I don't know where, at my age, I thought I would never see what I'm seeing. At my age, I thought things would be much different. I'm 85 years old. I came up, I was born in 1937. I've seen it. Been, and Martin Luther King said, I've been to the mountaintop. All right. I've seen it. And I keep saying the word why. When I speak, I often use the word why. Because why do we have to treat people the way we treat people? Because they're different. Look what's happening in Ukraine, man. As a military man, that's murder. All they're doing is murdering these people, man.
Yeah.
Children, women. I saw that in Vietnam. That could happen here. People got to wake up. Don't you know that could happen right here in America? You saw what happened in 9/11, right? Okay, it could happen here.
I was sitting in ninth grade algebra class, and my teacher, Mr. Marvin Lockett, one of my favorite teachers. He was hard on me. I couldn't stand him when I was younger, but when I got older, I understood why he was hard on me, and I'm thankful that he was. Had an African American male man, as you would say, arithmetic teacher. Arithmetic. So he had that on the TV, and I'm sitting in class, and we see it happen. I literally watched the planes go into the building, and I just sat back, and I'm in the front row just watching. And never, like you said, when you never think about it when it happens. And the question is this: now we've seen that happen. Now, who's to say we're at a sporting event such as maybe just a regular Falcon football game, Braves game, even a Hawks game, and something like that, something like that might happen. And like you said, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna continue to treat people that way? Or are you gonna be trying to get help and try to understand that, like, we all got to band together and stick together? Like you said, even though we all of different shades, we still family. Even if we don't like each other, we still are Americans. We're tied to each other by this country. So it's just a lot of things that I think we need to do better by. And when it comes to these NFL football players, I think they do them worse than they do us military vets, if you want to know the truth. When it comes to the money that they have and they hoard away from these guys that they literally can give them health care for, we should be the model of, like, okay, these guys were pro athletes. I get it's a private industry, but to stop all these lawsuits and all these people that's there, hey, you already have a fund that's developed. You need to start looking into getting guys in situations where Job Corps. You get some guys who didn't graduate college. Guess what? They're gonna need to make money. Everybody's gonna be broken up. You have to have a plan to put together to actually take care of these athletes that gave everybody so much entertainment during their time of play. Honestly, I think I'll say this. I think they should get discounted medical care.
No, they should.
I think they should get discounted medical care. I'm not going to say they should get free medical care, because people still got to make money and you still got to pay the bills. But I think they should get a discounted medical care. That's just how I feel about it. How do you feel?
I think the NFL should take care of them.
Yeah.
I know some guys right now that've been turned down from injuries they received playing football, professional football. I know a lot of football players. Okay. I hang out with a lot of them, still hang out with a lot of them right now, play golf with them. And these guys go to somewhere, I think in California, somewhere they go get tested. They have to go to a certain place that the NFL sent them to see a doctor. And so many of them have been turned down, and they got all this money sitting there. And they want to pay these guys and help them with their medical bills and give them some disability. It's crazy. And they're so rich. Man, these people, these owners are so rich. It's pathetic, the money they have. And these guys get out there because they love the game of football. I love the game of football. I want to play so bad. I want to play pro football so bad. They had, even with having gotten my neck already messed up playing football, compressed vertebrae in my neck playing football, and jumping out of airplanes, I was still going to go try and play. They had offered me a lot of money, but I wasn't going to play for no $17,000. I'm making that 5 times that much as a captain, in the Army, and running track overseas. Man, I make $30,000 in 2 months just running track overseas.
You know who you sound like turning down those contracts? You sound like it's a famous basketball legend. He's a street ball legend, but he ended up making it to the NBA. They drafted him out of Norfolk State. Was a man by the name of Mr. Pee Wee Kirkland, one of the best basketball players to walk this earth.
Right.
And he turned down the Chicago Bulls. That's how Norm Van Leer got his contract, because they were actually going to cut Norm, but Pee Wee was going to be the guy. But I got a question for you. An anonymous source, hit me up with the question. Normally I don't go off of my script. So hopefully my anonymous source is kind of grateful for this. So you owe me one. Why were so many 1968 Olympic team members so academically successful?
Well, how can I put this? Because of the coaches, really. It was the coaches. It's the kind of coaches they had back in 1968. My coach, Stan Wright, was like a father to me. I mean, he passed away, but he was like a father to us on that team. When he tell you something, you do it or you don't compete. Not wait those kids out today. They go tell the coaches what to do. These Olympic coaches, they tell these coaches, I'm not going to run unless so-and-so run. Or I'm not going to do this. My coach told me not to do this. But see, if I was coaching back then, if I was an Olympic coach, they would probably fire me. If a coach walk up to me and a kid walk up to me and tell me he's not going to do what I tell him to do, he's not going to run for me. That's just the way it is. These kids tell these coaches today what to do. These coaches Olympic teams are just there. All they call themselves coaching. That's how we lose so many relays. You say why we lose a lot of relays?
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to work together.
Yeah.
If you want to run a leader, you got to practice relay like Charlie Green and I. I got a picture. I think I might have seen that picture of me and working on the track. We were working, passing the baton. We did that every day. And Coach Stan Wright had us doing it every day. That's why we set the world record, because we had our steps down. If you don't get your steps down, and running track and passing that baton, you're not going to want to go medal. You're not going to place. Nope. So we set a world record because we had a coach that cared about us. He was like a father to us, not only track and field, but also education. He made us. He told us, you don't stop here. You made it this far because everybody can't make it as far as you have made it to make an Olympic team. So you can't stop here. You got to get your education there. You got to go back to school. Some of the kids were still in college that ran. They'd all got their college degrees though.
And Coach Brandt, so he's like I said, he's soaking this up like a sponge. But one of our gentlemen that's on the panel with us, Coach Brandt, is a former college and high school football coach as well as a wide receiver. You still a diva to me. I'm a defensive back, so you always gonna be a diva to me. I don't like wide receivers and I don't like quarterbacks. So, but I like you though. You all right. But outside of that, Coach, why don't you can tell Dr. Pender what it was like and what your experience was like when you were a coach and you were molding young men and you actually had them under your tutelage. What was it like for you?
Well, believe it or not, to go off of what he just said, it's part of the reason I got out of education and coaching and teaching was because of the parents. It wasn't the kids. The parents drove me crazy. And I would have wound up, like he said, I would have wound up getting fired if I would have kept doing it, because there was no accountability for what the parents making their kids do stuff, and it just, I had more issues with the parents than I ever did with the kids. I still see kids nowadays that are 40 years old, got families of their own. They come up, they'll still hug me. It makes my day to see them, to know that I did something to help them out and to point them in the right direction in their life, like the doctor's saying. And that's just something you can't take away, helping somebody out like that and being a positive influence for them.
So I got another question for you, Dr. Pender. In this interview segment, we got to bring up the Falcons because this is what we do as well. And I want your honest opinion about you being from the city, born and bred, a son of the city. You watched the Falcons when they came into the city in 1966, all the way up until now. Why do you think the Falcons can't get it together when it comes to winning?
Oh, Lord.
And you're a bona fide winner, so I want to ask you, because you've put in the work to become a world record holder, a gold medalist, which is very hard to do because you're the best in the world, but you understand what it takes to win. Why do you think the Falcons cannot get it together mentally, physically, or just in a situation where something won't just fall their way.
We'll get over that hump.
Well, I could say coaching. I could say that. I could see the people that they recruit in certain areas. They can't play after the third quarter. It's over. They can be leading the third quarter with 20 points and lose. They cannot play after the third quarter. In third quarter, fourth quarter, they can't play. They can play first and second quarter. They can play. They're great players, but I think the coaches need to not depend on just that number one person that plays on the first team. You got to have people that can play on the second team. In other words, you got to do substitution. I don't never see them doing substitution like they should. But they got to have people that can play just as good as the guy that's playing first team is playing the second team. They're playing on the second team. I think they had good running backs and wide receivers. The quarterback that they had for so many years, I didn't think he was the best. I didn't think he was a good quarterback. I don't know why they paid him all that money. He's not even playing now, is he? Is he playing now?
Yeah, he got released.
He just got released by the Colts.
Yeah, he was not a good quarterback. And they paid him $100 million.
They paid him more than that. They paid him like 3 big camps.
But it's crazy when you say that. I'll say this. In his later years, after the Super Bowl, when he started to decline, it was a steep decline. When he was younger, he was leading them to wins. The problem was it wasn't him at the time. They didn't have a defense.
No.
But when we got to that position to where he started to get old and he started to wear down, is like you spoke about your days when you knew that you were getting to that point where you weren't competing like that because you were older. That was the same thing. He was getting beat on. So the life expectancy for a quarterback getting beat on the way that he was getting beat on, it's not going to last that long when you get to a certain age.
Well, they also never get the right defense, have the right defense line. I don't know who's recruiting. I don't know who's out there recruiting, how they determine who to recruit, what positions they need to put in the right places in defense. I don't understand it. I mean, the Falcons could win. They could put him in the right places. I think they got a pretty good quarterback now. So hopefully he has experience, but I hope he live up to what his potential, because it's that I don't know, man. I love the Falcons. I mean, I'm from Atlanta. Why not love the Falcons?
Ooh, you know what? Thank you. We have ladies and gentlemen, we have what we call a true Falcons fan in the cage. We don't have a fake or part-time fan. Let's get this straight. He literally has just said the reason why he loves the Falcons. It's the home team.
Why not?
And why not? Why not support them? It baffles me. You have people born and raised in Atlanta, never step foot in some of these other cities, and they pull for other squads. Never step foot in the city. They don't know the history of the team. They don't understand, some of the great players that have come through. They just go for what's convenient. It's I call them microwave type fans. You pop up when one team is winning, you pop up over here. Then when they start losing, you pop up somewhere else. I call them microwave fans.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping they're going to have a better team this year. I love to see them win a Super Bowl. They got the most beautiful stadium in the country.
Yeah, their stadium house.
Yeah, and I think the owner, he needs to step up to the plate and say, "You win, or get off the boat." You know what I mean? You need to tell when he hire a coach, I give you 3 years. You can't win in 3 years, you're gone.
I think he might need you to go up there with Arthur Blank and literally teach him how to be an owner. I think you really need to go up in there and teach him how to be an owner. That's just me. He don't mind spending money, but it's like, hey, you got to figure out where you're gonna spend your money and start putting it into places like you said. You need to get dividends for your investments.
Right. Well, that's how these teams win. They just got rid of what's his name, the running back for Dallas.
Yeah, Ezekiel.
Huh?
Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah. They just got rid of Elliott. I mean, I couldn't understand that one. That was a blow to me to get rid of Elliott. I don't know, man. He's one of the best running backs in football, man. I mean, for a wide receiver, I think it was, wasn't it? They traded him for a wide receiver.
They value the position now. I mean, they probably will regret it in the long run, but they just want to run through high draft picks and then just go pick another guy. That's how they're looking at the running back position now, Doctor.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not a recruiter. I don't, I don't know, but I think I would have kept him a little bit longer, but I thought he was one of the greatest running backs that would come out of there. But like I said, I'm not a coach, and but coach Mike can say more about it than why they got rid of him and brought for this person they brought in there, a wide receiver. But I thought they had pretty good wide receivers. I don't know.
Economics.
Yes. Okay, coach, you're right.
It was the cost savings.
Yeah.
So if you were in that position, Dr. Pender, if you were in that position, what would you do to start building and really trying to make changes when it comes to the Falcons? And how would you actually start from the ground up when it comes to that team? Because as you understand, winning cures everything. And you're going to have people to want to see and be a part of something that is a winner. How would you go about building this franchise from the ground up?
Oh, Lord, that's a big question for me because I'm not a football coach, but I would start with my defense. I would start with my defense.
I knew you were a very intelligent man.
Is that right, Coach?
Absolutely.
I would start with my defense.
Correct.
That's the first thing I would do. I get me a good defense. I think you got the running back. I think you got the wide receivers. Offensive line is not too bad, but you got some work to do there too. But then you got to get a quarterback. If you don't have a good quarterback, you got to get a quarterback that's a leader. If you don't have a quarterback, you don't have no team. You know that. Mm-hmm. You can have the best running backs in the world. If you don't have a quarterback and a defensive line, you ain't got no football team. So that's where I would start.
Now you just spoke on something about leadership. And I think that's a big thing because, like I said, I tell everybody all the time, middle linebacker is the heart of the defense, but the safety is the brain of the defense because you literally are like the maestro. You have to control everybody. When you spoke on the quarterback position and you talked about leadership, from your military days and even your days as the elder statesman on the track team, and you were the anchor, as a leader, what would you do to pretty much inspire those around you outside of your hard work that you put in when you had to talk to guys and build their confidence to make them believe in what they could do? What are qualities that you look for in a leader when they're actually controlling men in that situation?
First, I think in order to be a leader, I think the coach has to be the leader first. A coach has to be not only a coach, he's got to be everything from a father, a brother, grandpa, everybody. A coach, you can't go out there and bully people. You got some coaches get out there and threaten and bully and holler and scream and so on and so forth. But you have to love your coach, man. Because I found that out when I coached track at West Point. My kids love me. They love me, boy. They do anything.
You got to be a psychologist too.
Yes. Coach, I'm telling you, my coach, even when I was a company commander, a platoon leader in the Army, my men knew that if I tell them to jump off of my top of this house right here, I'm going to go first because I'm the leader. If I had to do it first, I would go first. The coach has to be the one that make that team great. Is how he treat his players. You got to treat your players like they not like animals. You got to treat them like the human beings. I don't know how these coaches treat them the players because I never played pro football before. But you have to be able to. You got to be able to get the respect of your players. You got to have respect. You got to respect. They got to respect you. Then the players got to respect each other. But the coaches, to me, the coach is the main reason why teams win championships. You got the talent. And build on the talent. If you got the people you brought in there to be in certain positions, you train those people, and you tell them, I'm a winner. I told them when I was in the Army and when I coached track, I tell them right quick, I'm not a loser. I'm a winner. We're going to win. and you're gonna go out there and you're gonna do the best you can. You're gonna be the best that you can be out there on that track. If you don't win, if you show me you did your best, that's all I need from you. But you got players out there. Sometimes I see them slumping off. I see some stuff that you probably don't see. Coach, I know Coach sees it. You get players out there, sometimes they just out there.
I'll say this here, and everybody's gonna get mad when I say it. You know, when you have a guy that was the first round pick of your, pretty much the first round draft pick that you have when he came here, it's like, look, you were taken fourth. You were the fourth pick, and you were the first pick for the Falcons that year. You're pretty much now one of the faces of the franchise. They're believing in you to not just do your job, but to turn into a leader. You're going into year 3. It was a lot of, before he got injured this year, there was a lot of things that he did when you speak on not running routes thoroughly, not putting his all into every play, not blocking hard enough. As you said, when you talk about effort, you know, people don't realize effort on top of talent goes a long way. It goes a long way. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you have no effort and no desire to go along with that, it's waste. It's pretty much words without actions. That's pretty much what it balances out to be. And I think we saw that from him this year. And I think somebody needs to pull him aside and say, hey, you were a first round draft pick for a reason. They saw you as a guy that could actually be a leader, not only in stats, but in your actions to motivate others that are here so we can have a winning culture. You have to change that. Mm-hmm. And that's what I expect when we take guys in the first round. You know, all right, you're going to sit here and bring guys in that first round. Guess what? These are guys that you're saying they could eventually become leaders in your locker room. They could train, that literally can lead not just by example, but also verbally and also off the field as well.
Right.
Yeah. But the second, what the doctor was saying, you got to have a coach that you're ready to run through a wall for. I mean, you got all that on the line for. That's what Kirby got going down there in Georgia right now. That's why we're going to get this 3-peat. So yeah, I want to throw that in.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You know, they have to believe in the coach. Coach had to make them believe in him and that he's a winner. You know, and they got to want to win. You know, I know most football players out there, they want to win. I mean, they wouldn't be out there busting their butts if they didn't want to win. But it takes a motivation from the coaches, also from the owner. I think Atlanta's owner is pretty good at that. He's out there on the field. You know, he used to be out there on the field, showing his appreciation. But it comes to those coaches, and if you got the talent out there, if you have the talent, you have to build on that talent that you have. And you see where that talent's not working for you, you got to find somebody else that can do better than the one that you got there. I mean, you're gonna have to make changes. I mean, that hurts, but you got to put people in places that's gonna get the job done. So it's like I said, I'm not a football coach. You know, I was a track coach, and I coached, and I still a lot of my West Pointers live in Atlanta here now. And I see some of them sometimes, and we break bread together, and some of the comments I get and things from them, it makes my chest just rise, man. I mean, Coach, you did this for me. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be able to do this. You know, that's what you got to do. You got to build that confidence in those players. I'm not bragging, but I thought I was a really good coach. I mean, I really love coaching, especially at West Point Military Academy, because those kids are so intelligent.
You don't have to be humble on here, Dr. Pender. Here's the thing. You accomplished it. You have proof. Where we say the proof is in the pudding, you have proof, and you have records to go along with your works. So you know what? This is a time where you can be you can stand up tall, beat on your chest. Hey, you know what? This is what I did. This is the opportunity that we like to have for people, you know, that have your stature, just to go ahead and, you know what, it's fine. We're okay with it because I'm a lifelong fan. I didn't get to see you run in your prime, but because of what I knew about you and I've read in your autobiography, you know, you're a champion of life. You've motivated me to continue to keep working hard. And, you know, just through your actions and understanding what resiliency is, that has taught me a lot. Seeing how many times that you've had to go up against obstacles and you've overcome those obstacles, it motivates me to work harder. And I appreciate that. And I know my guys here, they definitely appreciate you coming through, just giving us jewels of wisdom tonight.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate it, Doc. You've opened my eyes to a lot of different things and motivated me just by doing the interview. And I hope the listeners and the followers of us in the Birdcage have give appreciation for you too.
Absolutely, I appreciate you.
Yeah, Coach, I appreciate that, guys. I tell you what, another thing too, it's always good to have a good woman on your side too.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah. I told mine if she leaves, I'm going with her.
That's what I told my wife. I'm not going nowhere. I might go to the garage, but I'm not going no further than that. But when you get somebody,
gonna get you a Philly cheesesteak, or you gonna get you a Philly cheesesteak, as you would say.
Amen. I love Philly cheese, baby.
Now, see, I live here in Philly, so I can't call it that. They just call it a steak. I got to be careful with that. My girlfriend to come in. No, it's not a Philly cheese. It's a steak. They take that very personal. So I want to thank you for coming through and giving us a lot of, giving us almost 2 hours of your time tonight. It means the world to me and everybody else and our viewers, because you gave us a lot to learn from your story. And also, before I let him go, we're going to go ahead and let you guys know once again, Dr. Melvin Pender Jr., that is his name. You can look him up on Google. You can find his story there. And you can also purchase his book on Amazon.com, The Mel Pender Story. It's called Expression of Hope. It's $18.95. Great read.
Doctor, are you on Facebook?
Yes, I'm on Facebook. Yes.
I'm going to hit you up on Facebook.
All right. I appreciate that. Some lady keeps sending nice messages here.
That is the first lady of the Birdcage. She was in the audience tonight because she wanted to be a part of. She's always a part of the show, but she really wanted to make sure that she was a part of this show this evening.
That's your first lady.
Jules.
That's your first lady.
Yeah, no. My lady is in there taking care of the little one right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, this first lady on here, she's really sharp.
Yeah, this is the first lady of the Birdcage. Let me make sure I put that out there.
Okay.
She's a part of our group. She loves football. She's an educator, a motor of young minds. She's an elementary school teacher, and she's great at what she does.
Right. Yeah, she said some things about education. She's really, really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she kind of roughs us up a little bit, keeps us in line with the show or whatnot when we actually are in group meetings or whatnot. So we pretty much call that the leg of the law right there. She lays down the law. So
that's why I said you got to have a good woman, man, in your life around you, a good woman around you, because they make it all happen. Sure. I want to say something before you go. I want to say how proud I am of you. I remember when I first met you, you came to visit your grandmother and you fell in love with my daughter, Melania. She was older than you. Melania's 41 years old now. He fell in love with my daughter. She's pretty. She's a really pretty girl, but she went to Towson State University in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
You met my son too, Javier.
Yes.
Yeah. He's a big dude now. But they're doing well, doing fine. And I just saw your grandmother at her birthday party. Great birthday party. You got a great grandmama. I'm telling you, man. I'm gonna call her and tell her I just got off the interview with you. But you look good, man. You're still handsome as hell, ever.
I'm trying to keep up with you, because when I get to be, if the Lord allows me to get to 85 like you, sir, I want to make sure that I look good. I want to make sure that I can still get around, and I will still be able to see. I like to bowl and I like to shoot pool, and I'm actually going to start picking up a golf. I'm going to start picking up a golf club. So I would love to be able to do those sports, and I like to be a part of a rec league when I get to the point where I'm retired.
Well, that's good. I'll tell you. I think everybody gives me compliments of the way I look. At my 85, and I went to the doctor the other day, and the lady looked at my chart, and looked at my how old I was. She almost had a heart attack. She said, "You 85 years old?" I said, "Yes." I said, "I got a young wife I said, but it went for her, I think, and God in my life. I said, I wouldn't be the person to look the way I look today.
Yeah.
You got to stay healthy, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we're going to go ahead and shut it down for the night. We do appreciate Dr. Melvin Pender for coming into the cage once again. And we want to thank Killian for coming into the building, Killer K-Dub, and Coach Brant. We definitely appreciate you for coming in and stopping by. Join us next Thursday as we get ready for the draft, and we have some picks coming up. So we definitely appreciate everything that you guys do. Thank you for the support. We have some big events coming up. Just stay tuned, and God bless you guys tonight, and enjoy the weekend.